everybody. Well, morning where I am. It's TED Talk episode 28. This is the finale of season number 1, and boy, have we saved a doozy for last. First of all, I got to tell you about this. So how many hours ago now? 10 hours ago, 12 hours ago, something like that. I'm sat in the hot tub outside, having a glass of wine. It's 9 o'clock at night, and the scorpion came up and went, 3 of them right in the side of there. So that was an interesting evening, trying to sleep but not really sleeping. So don't get bitten by a scorpion. Today's going to be a blast. We're going to have a good. This is been looking forward to this show for a while. 2 guests who I've admired the careers for a long time, and I have a feeling that this 30-minute show might be a little bit mental. First of all, a man with a 40-year-plus television career, superstar in the UK, hilarious man. Welcome to the show, Brian Conley. Hi, mate.
It's very nice to be here, Terry. And especially with the legend that I'm sure I know you're just about to introduce. I'm very excited. I've actually gone moist. But here, mate. I'm ready. I'm up for it. I'm like a coiled sponge. I'm ready.
Well, I can't wait. Second guest on the show is a legend in the music industry. There needs no introduction. Please welcome to the show, Paul Young. How are you, Paul?
How you on?
Good to have you on here. I can't wait to get into talking about both your careers, and this will be a blast. I think, Brian, you're somewhere in Surrey.
Yeah.
Is that right? And Paul, you're somewhere in that south of England as well, right?
No, Hertfordshire, yeah. Oh, yeah, east to south. To us, the north.
True, yes. Yeah, well, I'm originally from Manchester, so everything's kind of south of us, up above us, don't really matter. But great having you on the show. We're going to start TED Talk as we always do with 3 quick-fire questions, and this should be interesting. I'm going to start with Brian. Brian, our first question today is 2 things, 2-part question. What turns you on and what turns you off?
Cool, blimey. What turns me on is creativity, and in my game, of course, that's so important. And to start with a blank page and to come up with something that turns me on. And what turns me on, I've got a load of things that turn me off. Silly things that turn me off are small tables in restaurants.
Oh yeah,
and there's no room to put your food down, and that really turns me off. Bags of crisps that have about 8 crisps in them and are full of air. And this is very silly, but it's absolutely true. It really gets to me, is when you buy a T-shirt and in it you've got a cleaning tag that's about that long. And why do I need a cleaning tag that long? And then when you cut it off, you get a little hole in your T-shirt. You're thinking, why give me this cleaning tag? So you can tell I'm even wound up now. So there you go.
Love it. Crisp tables and T-shirts. Paul, what about you? What turns you on and what turns you off?
I'm still struggling to come up with it. Well, music turns me on. I mean, I listen to music all the time. Anything and everything. And there's always something. Now I'm traveling the world a lot more. I'm listening to a lot more world music, a lot of stuff outside of America and the UK. So that's my major turn on. And when I hear something that's really beautiful, it really fills my heart,
Yeah.
It just people, artists that some people might not have heard of, particularly in the UK. If I pick, say, a guy from Cuba, a young guy. No, his name's Alex Cuba, but he's not from Cuba. But he's very good, But there's a beautiful song he did with Ron Sexsmith, and every time I hear it, it puts me in a really good mood.
What style of music?
Well, yeah, it's Latin, but he's an interesting guy because his records are quite orchestrated, but he can strip it down to a 3-piece and go and play. He plays guitar. He's really good, and he's fantastic, and he's got a great sense of humour in between the songs as well.
Brilliant. Anything turn you off brings to mind?
Of the things that, when you say turn me off, I suppose you mean things that make you angry.
Things that piss you off.
The only thing that makes me really angry is disrespecting old folk.
Oh, yeah.
I can't stand it. It really bugs me, when younger people just talk badly to them on the street, and that really winds me up.
Right. Hey, I've got to tell you something on it. We've got a lot of people already tuning into the show, but my brother-in-law has just come on and said, my first ever concert with my sisters was Paul Young at the Liverpool Empire about 1987. So
yeah, I think I played there first in 1983. That's a great place to play.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. I love that venue. All right, brilliant. Here's another question. I love this one. I'm going to start with you here, Paul. You just got the job. You've just got a new job. It's the CEO of a major company. All right. What company would that be? And what would be the first decision you made?
Oh, God.
I would buy the biggest football club in the world, then sell all the players off and pocket the money.
Nice. You want to pick a club here, or you're not going to touch that?
No, I'm not going to go there. I'll upset some friends.
Yeah, I know that. Brian,
there's a lot of money in that game. We used to be getting all that money, and now they download our stuff for nothing and stream it. So I want to get something out of them.
I love it. I like that. What about you, Brian?
I think once Paul said that, I'm going to go along the same lines then. It would either be by Apple, Amazon. I think Coca-Cola. I buy it, then I'll sell it, and then I'll be by my pool drinking a Pepsi.
Ooh.
Nice. I like it.
I don't know. They're tough questions, when you're put on the spot.
Yeah.
They are, because there's so many things if you had an hour or two to sort of think about it. But, I'm sure there's a lot of things I could do as a CEO. I have been in London's glittering West End at the moment. Of course, that's finished with lockdown. And I was in the musical 9 to 5, where I played the sadistic boss of, and of course, famously, the film starred Dolly Parton. And Dolly Parton wrote all the songs for this show. I've met her 3 times, but I played the CEO. So I have experience of being a CEO.
Yes, you do. I was going to say, are you enjoying that show? Were you enjoying that show?
Well, I was enjoying it. I was in it for a year. We were meant to finish end of May. We was at the Savoy Theatre in London. Of course, London was the first place to be locked down. And that was 2 months ago. So it's been surreal. It's been weird because when, of course, we found out that we were closing, it was an hour before the show. There was a big audience there, and they just wandered in and said, I'm sorry, we're closed. And it was weird because, all we wanted to do was give everyone a hug. You couldn't. All we wanted to do was go to the pub, and you couldn't. And it's just fizzled out. I mean, we're hoping, obviously, to have a little do once it all calms down. But
yeah.
The end of the show in London. And but it was a wonderful experience. And like I said, to meet Dolly Parton, and to see her perform, to see her watch you perform the songs that she wrote was unbelievable.
I bet. It actually touched on our next question, but I just want to, there's loads of people commenting. I'm not going to get to all of them, but Callie Langhurst said, Paul, surely it would be a tequila company. So,
yeah, that's not a bad idea. But then, because that means I'll move to Mexico. That would be double good.
Yeah. So here's there's seven degrees of separation stuff that goes on all the time. You just said Mexico. That's where my wife and I live for just over half the year. So what's your favorite part of Mexico, Paul?
Well, the thing is, I haven't really been there as much as I'd like. I dipped into Tijuana when I did a photo session for an album, about 91.
Right.
Then I spent a short break down in Cabo San Lucas before, when there were only 2 hotels there. I believe there's a whole lot more now.
So that's where we live in Cabo.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
Anywhere close to Sammy Hagar's tequila plantation?
We're about I don't know, a 5-minute walk from there.
No, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a clip. See, he's done what I should have done. But,
it's great. It's brilliant,
yeah,
though.
Before I went to Mexico City last year, I did a concert with Midgia, and I stayed in Mexico City for about 4 days because I thought this is my only chance. First time I ever played in Mexico. And I wanted to start the city.
Brilliant. All right, the next question. I'm looking forward to this one. 2 massive careers, but if you could pick in those big careers one moment favorite performance moment for whatever reason. I'm gonna go with Brian first, but if you could pick one moment out of that career, is there a moment that sticks out? You go, you know what, that was cool.
Well, then it would have to be the opening night of the musical I was in, Jolson, where I played Al Jolson, and we were in London. We were at the Victoria Palace, and everything was riding on this opening night. It's in the old days when, of course, the internet wasn't there, and it was so important to get the right reviews and to have a good launching pad for the rest of the run, and to just wander out there at the beginning, like standing at the top on a precipice and just diving down, and it went well, and I'll never forget that feeling, and how chuffed I was, and what an achievement it was, and it was a good time. So there's of course many that I'd love to read off, but that's one that really sticks in my mind.
How long did you do Jolson for?
3 years. We went to Canada, we done Toronto, and we were there for 6 months. And so many people came to see it. Bob Hope, Tom Cruise, Jackie Mason. And I remember Jackie Mason saying to me, "You have no right to be that good in front of me." He said, when I watched you, I felt like a plumber's mate. And I'll never forget that.
That's a great one.
I know it is, and absolutely true. I mean, he was such a great guy. I mean, I only met him the once, but I'm a huge fan, and to know these people are out there watching you. Tom Cruise, that was great, and he asked, I got this message. Tom Cruise would like to meet you, in the interval at the end of the show. I tell him I'm busy, but no, that was great. And Bob Hope. He said to me, "How old are you?" And I said at the time I was in my early 30s. He said, "Well, let me tell you, my boy, you got it all." And these are moments that I'm going to actually have eventually tattooed on my arm. Quotes. But it opened the door for a lot of things playing Jolson, so I'm very grateful for that.
No, absolutely, it's brilliant. And I keep referring to this. This is our first season of TAD Talk, and it's been brilliant. But one of the things that's happened as I'm introducing guests that I know a lot about but never met is this stuff that we have in common. We've talked Cabo San Lucas, which is that loose connection. Here's a connection with you that I just discovered. So we have a company called TAD Management, booking company, booking agency, booking acts all over the world. And the husband of the girl that runs our cruise division played lead trumpet on Jolson in London, Justin Thunderberry.
Do not ask me her name.
Justin, he was lead trumpet in the show. That's bizarre. What
I do remember is in the finale of Jolson, of course, it was all leading up, his career had gone haywire, and then eventually he comes back from the depths and he's starring at Radio City in New York. So it's his big opening night. And so we sort of replicated this with a huge orchestra. We had about 40 behind me on these layers. And I come down on this one particular night, unbeknownst to me, in the box to the left, a couple are making love in the box. And I know there's something going on because when I'm turning around, the whole band are all looking this way and all playing. And I know something's going on over there, but I daren't look. And then afterwards, of course, it came out, and then the press found out about it. And it was actually, with all the doom and gloom in this world, it was a very bit of light relief. And we, got on the front page of all these papers. And, while I'm singing California, Here I Come, this is kicking off in the box there. But, it was... so I didn't really know any of the band, but I'm sure she was one of them that was sitting and looking that way. You ask her.
Actually, it wasn't her. It was her husband now. His name is Tunders. It was known as Tunders, but brilliant trumpet player.
We'll never have forgotten that moment. None of us did.
I'll make sure I ask him after this. That's brilliant. Like I said, loads and loads of people watching this show, which is great. We just had a question for Paul, actually. Said, "Hey, Paul, would you ever like to do a West End show?"
I flirted with you a little while back. One half of my management said, "Why don't you give it a go?" But I think the thing is, I missed my moment. So about, it's got to be nearly 10 years ago now, I think I gave it a go. But then I think you got to have had some kind of acting you've got to have some kind of training. And if I really wanted to do it, I should have done it when I was, one, very famous and in the spotlight, and I was young enough to be able to take it all in, you know.
Yeah,
I kind of miss that time. And I remember bumping into to Gary now my senior. I remember this.
Gary Wilmot?
No, the one that did Neil by Mouth, Gary Oldman.
Right.
So he was in a club in Soho, the Groucho, and I didn't know he was just about to make Neil by Mouth, and he goes, "Have you ever thought about acting?" He says, "Everyone's got a good part in him, you know." Because I said, "Well, I've never had any training." He goes, "Everyone's got one good part in him," and he just talked to me a little bit about it, and I kind of lauged it off, and then I think, why did I do that? You know?
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, that certainly answered the question. What about you, Paul? What would be your most memorable moment on stage, or famous, most favourite performance moment?
I suppose everyone would expect me to say Live Aid, which was the most exciting from my standpoint, my point of view, you know, and the fact that it happened for the first time, you know, that an international concert was created, you know, whereby we went to America. Incredible, you know, and the whole reason that it was done, you know, was incredible. But the one that I remember the fondest really is the next time it came around to doing a benefit concert of some sort was when Freddie Mercury died, and once again Queen played Wembley with a multitude of guests, and I was one. But by this point, it's the one that I'll point most people to. Young folk, they go, "What did you do?" I go, "Type in Paul Young Radio Gaga," you know, and even I've forgotten how big Wembley is, you know. But by that point, they've got cameras at the back, and they were online, so they could zoom in. And someone said, "Have you never watched it?" I went, "No." Long, you know, 25 years later, I looked at it and went, "My God, how did I not freak out?" You know, it's just.
And I was going to ask you that either one, whether Live Aid or this one. Were you able to actually really take it in?
No, not really. There's so much to think about, and but the thing about Queen, the loyalty that they get from their fans is enormous, you know.
Yeah.
And I nearly missed. I mean, everyone said that was a great song to pick, and I said I was touring America, and I said, well, by the time they told me that they wanted me to do it, and then they said, "You've got to choose a song." I went, okay. 2 days later, I think my manager called me up and said, "Have you decided on one yet?" And I went, "Oh, no, I forgot." He said, "Well, it's down to 5 now, so you better get your skates on." When he read those 5 out, I just went, "Radio Gaga, I'll have that," you know. And when you're watching, the crowd goes, "Oh, it was," you know, it's an incredible sight.
No, it's brilliant. And we, maybe not on this live feed, but when we put this back on YouTube, we're going to put that on there. And so you can see Wembley is enormous. I think probably 80,000, 90,000 people there. And brilliant. So 2 careers going back so long. Brian, how did it start for you? I mean, I'd love to learn, and I'm sure the viewers would love to learn more about. You've got that wide, massive TV career, and some of those audiences with Brian Conley are absolutely hilarious. Before I get to that, I know one thing I forgot to do. For any of our American viewers out there who don't know Brian or maybe haven't seen much, he broke the internet this week with a 10, 15-second clip that's just freaking hilarious. Check this out.
There's no business
Brilliant. And you know, it's quite funny. What was happening a couple of days ago? Maybe 4 or 5 days ago, Sam, who we all know, messaged me saying, "Brian's coming on the show." And the very next text I got was a musical director of a theatre just down the road from here. No idea who you are, Sam. He said, "Hey, check this out," and sent me the video of, and it was that quick, just flying around. Brilliant, Brian.
No, I just sat in the kitchen. I just, And I were on a quiz with some friends, and I just went, you know what? They should change that song. Just go, there's no business. And they went, that's funny. You should do that. And then I said to my wife, should we do it? And yes, we did. But yeah, no, it has. It's done extremely well. I think it's just struck the chord, and I'm telling that, you know, who knows when we're all going to go back. You know, we're in a very weird game where you present stuff that lots of people come and see and watch, and of course, you know, that is not the case, and probably won't be the case for some time. But yeah, no, it's lovely to just put out little bits and make people smile at this time. So I'm glad.
It's superb. Going back to your early life, early career, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, how it really began for you, or really the moment when you thought, hey, this is what I might be doing for the rest of my life?
It's because I wasn't any good at anything else. At school, and I didn't know it, I'm in my 50s now, but at school I was dyslexic. It wasn't recognised. I was put in a remedial class, and I just struggled. But the one thing I could do was sing, and it'd be funny to diffuse any situations I was in, trying to disguise my dyslexia. I would make people laugh. So it started at a very young age. And I just put all my eggs in one basket. I never had a plan B. This was what I did, and this is what I had to do. So I had many knockbacks in the early days, and especially moving much more into comedy, doing some awful gigs in awful places. But I just kept going, and that was it. I think, you know, that's the thing that sort of drove me forward, is knowing that I'm no good at anything else, Bright. Let's just keep doing it. And luckily for me, you know, you roll the dice, and I got a few lucky breaks, and managed to come up with the goods, and sort of managed to carve out a career, because I've been doing it now for maybe 45 years. I have been doing it because I started professionally when I was 12. I went to stage school, and I got my equity card when I was 12, and I was earning money in those days at that age. So, and to have actually survived and ticked over and kept it going, for me, is the biggest achievement. And so I started at school, and it just snowballed from there.
I say the same thing, that when people say, what's the best part, or what do you... what's the best thing, the one best thing you've done in the music business? And I said, stay in it. No, it's just, this is what I wanted to do. And I was the same. I didn't have a plan B. I did, however, I had the respect of my father by doing an apprenticeship, you know, at Vauxhall, because I came from Luton. So I did it for him. But in my mind, I was saving up money to get equipment to be in a band, you know. And as far as I knew, there was no way I was going back there. So I didn't know what I would have done if it had failed, you know.
Yeah.
So what was your apprenticeship? What was you doing?
I trained to be a milling machinist. And yes, does anyone know what that is?
No.
What is it?
Well, everyone's heard of a lathe, but this is a weird thing. So a lathe is one where you've got a piece of metal or whatever, and you screw it into a thing that then spins round, and you bring it down to a particular size or shape or whatever. Milling machine works the other way. The piece is bolted down, and then something comes down from the top, and it mills around. So basically, I worked once I'd done my apprenticeship and I got my passes, the City Guilds Award, or whatever it's called. I then did 6 months in the experimental division, which was basically reboring carburettors, putting them back in, testing them for fuel consumption and all that sort of stuff.
You know, I think I remember reading you were in a band called Q-Tips or something way early in your career. Is that right?
Yeah, the local band before I moved out of Luton was called Cat Call and the Cool Cats, and then I was in street band, and that's the one I left my job for, and then out of the remnants of street band came the Q-Tips, which was a soul band, and so they were very successful in terms of live shows. We did loads of universities. We filled places that chart bands were filling just by our reputation as being a good act, you know.
Nice.
So I cut my teeth doing that, and that's why I was always very comfortable being on stage, you know, and performing.
Absolutely. And, I think, I know in the UK, and everyone knows me, I'm from Manchester, but came over here in the 80s, and then I've been here 20 years now. So it's always interesting for me to know how the Americans view or know British acts and vice versa, and what we know them for. For example, one of my favorite bands is 10cc. And if you're from the UK, there are a ton of songs. But over here, it's I'm Not in Love, and it's like 2 songs, maybe 3, So with you, I think Wherever I Lay My Hat was your first number 1 or its first big hit in the UK. Mm-hmm. But over here, you say Paul Young, and it's Every Time I Go Away. And everybody is that.
And the weird thing is, it's different country to country, because Germany didn't go for Wherever I Lay My Hat, but Come Back and Stay was number 1 for 6 weeks. The Italians loved Love of the Common People. So it's different. All Latin countries mostly seem to, strangely, like Love of the Common People. You'd think they'd like the more romantic sort of songs. But, it's weird.
No, and I don't know if you know this, but I think it was August, not last year, the year before, you were touring here with Midge, in the US. And we had actually booked the show at a place in Phoenix, and the place ended up closing down, and we couldn't do the gig. But we were excited about that tour. How was that tour for you over here in the States?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I've known Midge a long time, and he's one of those people who's got no airs and graces, and I don't think I have really. So we knew we could sit in a bus for 6 weeks together and not annoy each other, because we were playing little clubs. It's incredible, really, but I didn't go back to America for years. And then when I came back and started doing the retro Futura stuff, they said, "Why have you taken so long to come back?" I said, "Well, I know 15 years is a long time." And they went, 23. So I went, "Really?" So I've got to start again from the ground up. And we were doing the little clubs. And so we pared it down to just a little 12-seat bus with the band. But I love it. I mean, I did that with the Q-tips up and down the M1, A1, God knows where, M6, It's nothing for me to go back to that, no problem at all.
No, absolutely. And it's great. I actually, on a separate thing, I'd love to look at getting you back over and putting you in some of these clubs over here, because I think you'd kill it.
I'd love to get Los Pecaminos to the southwest.
Oh, that would kill it down here.
Yeah, because it's like Coles to Newcastle, It's like when the Average White Band went over to America, and people were going, "You sure it's a good idea?" But because we love that sort of Mexicana Americana stuff.
Well, plus when you get into that cultural, when you get into that cultural stuff over here, it's very easy to hit that market too. We're all very targeted on the music. So
I mean, if we could base ourselves down in sort of South Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, because I've got an app on my phone, and don't know if I should advertise or not, but it's called TuneIn. A lot of people use it for sports, but I use it because I search radio stations. So I'm listening to a radio station from New Mexico at the moment, and they're playing all of the Tejano stuff and mariachi. So I listen to that, and then I get a bit bored with that, and I've found some from Cuba, and I'll go and listen to those. And it's a great way, and you're actually listening live to a radio station the other side of the world. It's brilliant.
All right, great. Well, let's organise a mini tour, and let's go and stay in Cabo after it. We'll make that happen.
Oh.
Can I be the support?
Brilliant. I want to talk to Brian. In 1992, I think it was, my wife and I were living over here in the States, and then we went back to the UK to, at that time, try the IVF treatment, the test tube baby process in Liverpool. Anyone who knows us knows that worked. We now have a 26-year-old son because of that. But in 92, I remember, I think it was 92, I remember watching your TV show. I think it was just called The Brian Conley Show. Is that right, Brian?
Well, Struggle Up. That's my name. That's the only reason I got the show. You broccoli. Well, you can do broccoli show. And it was many years ago now, when television was black and white, and of course, at the time, and I know Paul's aware, these little Saturday night shows you used to get, and they were 15 million, and no one would blink an eyelid. Like now, that would be the biggest show on TV because there are so many other outlets. But when I started and having my own show here in England, there was 3 channels. There was BBC, BBC Two, and ITV, and that was it. There was no Channel 4, no Sky, no Channel 5. So, you used to, quite simply, get 15 million. So it was, and because I had done some characters and had a catchphrase and things like that, and I would regularly do these 3, which was Septic Peg, Dangerous Brian, and Nick Frisbee and his puppet. It really went into the consciousness of the public, and it's just stuck, so everywhere I go, no. So when I go, people all recognise it and they know me because we were in an era where there was 3 channels and I was every week doing slightly different, but every week I was doing the same thing. I was doing this Dangerous One, I was doing it, and it really struck a chord. And I've managed to sort of, it's like my hits. It's like they're the things that the public remember me for. The only thing is, I remember when I was for Sir Cameron McIntosh, I'm at Drury Lane and I'm playing Fagin in Oliver. And I had an hour in makeup before. I used to have an hour sitting there, putting on all the bald wig and everything and looking like Fagin, my dear. And I'd walk out and, onto the stage and people just shout, "It's a puppet," And the Americans will not know what that is, but that was my catchphrase. We don't want to go into it. We need an hour to talk about that. But so it's Weird M and catchphrase. I'm sure Paul can, talk about these songs that everywhere he goes, he's obviously got to sing those hits. And I want to ask him, does that get a bit brain numbing, or do you manage to change it up a bit?
I do change it up a bit to stop it from getting brain numbing. I've got to say as well, I've got a few years on you, so I remember when there was only 2 channels on TV.
Me too.
BBC Two was a revelation. So I get to do them a lot, and sometimes I thought, I'm going to mix them up a bit and change it around. So I used to. Actually, I didn't so much with Wherever I Lay My Hat, and I've changed that slightly now. Every time you go, it's about the same. But Love of the Common People, I was getting a bit bored with, and so I changed it and I gave it more of a Little Feat kind of R&B style for a while.
Brilliant.
And then I went to play in Israel, and they said, "We love of the Common People," And so they said, "Is it in the show?" I said, "Yeah, it's in the show." So we did it, and then I came off and they went, "That wasn't Love of the Common People. Go back and do it the old way." I said, "We can't really go back now. We rehearsed it this way, But so next tour, I went, "That don't work."
Do you ever do Radio Gaga live? You ever done that since the?
No, I haven't. No. I tell you what, it was very high for me. They normally do it in the key of F, and I didn't. I don't want to make it difficult for anybody, and I know Brian only plays one guitar. He's still got the same one, and so it's not like he can have it, because I wanted him to drop the key a bit, and but I can only take it down as far as E, because then you'd have to get someone to tune it all down. Or I've never seen him change a guitar on stage, So I thought he sticks with the same one all night, so I could only go down to E, which is a semitone, but it was still pretty high, And but it was a lot of fun. So I wouldn't do it now. No.
Hey, just before we jump to the next section, all the Brits will know Linda Lusardi, and Linda's just jumped on here and said, "I remember great times being on Brian's show, dressed as Marilyn Monroe with Nigel Lithgow producing."
Ooh. Yeah, I do remember that. We'd done. She'd done Diamonds, A Kiss on the Hand, maybe quite continental. Yeah, she'd done that, and then we'd done a sketch where I wanted to get into modelling, being a male model, and she took me through how to do it and my posture and get your head. And of course, we had a lot of comedy out of that. But yeah, I mean, they're all happy days, and the wonderful thing is, and I am sitting here now. I don't know if I can show you. If I turn it that way, that's an old VHS recorder I've even got these things, you know. So I am currently, because of lockdown, decided to try and get all this stuff that I've accumulated over God knows how many years onto hard drive. So that's one thing that's keeping me sane. I thought I need some sort of, I knew I would not ever do this in a million years. And I just thought, maybe my grandkids or many years from now, of course, these videos will just degrade. So I've done that. So funny enough, not that long ago, I did see me and the lovely Linda Lusardi doing that sketch. But yeah, that's been my little project. That, and because we've got so much free time, I've learned to speak German and French fluently, and I'm now teaching my dog how to read.
Okay, how's that going?
It's going well. No, that's it, because we have got a lot of free time. You know, I've made a exact replica of the Titanic out of matchsticks. You know, but honestly, what I have learned, I think we should ask Paul this question as well. I've learned how to sew. I've never learned how, I didn't know how to sew. I've always said to my wife, could you please sort out the hem on this or a button? I thought I have to use this time constructively. So as well as sorting out these videos, I've learned to sew, ladies and gentlemen. So I can officially now put a button, which I have done since, on a shirt, do a bit of a hem. I want to ask Paul, in this time, how have you used this time constructively? Is there anything you might have learned or studied, or what are you doing in the last 8 weeks?
Constructively, it's still music. So I am trying to learn finger picking on the guitar, because I tend to use a plectrum all the time. So I want to learn how to finger pick a little bit more. Harmonicas I had to go at for a while, and then I got bored. So I'm starting to try to pick that up as well. So I can do a little bit of blues harmonica. I did do some stuff on the Pacaminos, but in a studio, you know, you can start and stop and go. I'll do one little phrase and I'll do the next little phrase and things like that. But I'd like to be able to be a bit more fluent on that. What else have I been doing? Well, the Pacaminos are trying to get into the world of these simultaneous broadcast things.
Yeah.
So one of the songs the Pacaminos are quite well known for is a song called Come a Little Bit Closer by Jay and the Americans. It was #1 in America, actually, but no one really knows it in the UK. So we've changed it to Don't Come Any Closer. Don't come any closer. Hey, gringo, please stay 2 meters away.
Nice. You know, I found a lot of people trying to brush up on technology because of all this Zoom stuff and teaching, you know, trying to... I know my wife's a little bit of a tech nut, so we're trying to teach her you don't just fix things by banging on the iPad.
Yes, yeah. That's the other thing actually that I'm learning is I do little bits of home studio stuff, and then I get pretty good at what I want to do. Then I go on the road for a year. Then I come back. I go, how do I start this up? What does that do? What does this do? I have to go online and do the whole training thing all over again. How do I do this? How do I get to record? Why can't I switch the damn headphones off now? You know, and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. No, this was brilliant. We could stay on here for hours. We might break the record like you suggested, Brian. The longest show. Yeah. But we're going to switch to the part of the show right now that's called Where in the World is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry?
Where in the world is Terry?
All right, where in the world is Terry? This is where we change my virtual background and we put me somewhere else in the world. For example, if I did that, you would know that I am in the city of where?
Yeah. Liverpool.
Look at that, nailed it, Paul. Or
this is a little liver bird up the top in the little corner.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people don't do it or don't get that. Like that. That's a difficult one if you're not from.
Oh yeah, I know.
What is it?
Toronto?
No, it's Seattle, isn't it?
It is Seattle, yeah. Look at you nailing them. Here's a more difficult one.
Australia.
No.
It could be a couple of cities, actually. What do you think, Brian?
You know, you see the water there?
I have not got a clue. Oh, Dubai?
Yeah, it's Dubai, Brian.
You see it, yeah. You know what I was going to... Yeah,
so that's what this is, but I'm not doing them today. I'm doing these. because it's one of the funniest guys around and a music icon. We're going to change the way I'm going to do this because for Paul, I'm going to put myself in a music video. All right. Now, this is pretty simple. I think it should be quick. So I think if you don't get this in 5 seconds, Paul, you should be embarrassed. But we're going to try anyway. What's the artist and what is the song? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Okay, that's some folks say that Material Girl, Madonna.
Nailed it. Material Girl. Did you have that one, Brian?
Well, I knew it was Madonna, but no, it got me on Material Girl, but I didn't know it was Madonna.
All right, so that was that. Where am I going with this? This one is for Brian. I'm putting myself in a comedy movie, or more important, a comedy skit. And this is a 5-second deal again. Well, not that bit, actually. This is what used to happen before this came on. So ignore this.
Going back.
Ignore that.
Yeah.
And then this bit. Now.
Lucille Ball.
Get me out of the way. Look at that.
And it's the, of course, that famous scene where they get it all wrong with the baseball.
Yeah.
You stand on first base, who's on second base? Who's on first base?
Who's on first?
So yeah. So classic Abbott and Costello.
Isn't it brilliant?
Apparently they hated each other.
Say that again.
Apparently they absolutely hated each other.
Did they really?
Yeah.
No, funny stuff. They are fun. That Who's on First skit is still relevant today. Funny as hell. So good. All right, we'll move to the part of the show where I ask the question. The question I ask for every guest. And pretty simple question, but we get some amazing answers. So, Brian and Paul, this is it. If you could spend the next 60 minutes with any two people, dead or alive, on any place on Earth, who would you like to spend the next hour with, and where would you like to go? I'm going to start with Paul. So, Paul, two people, one place anywhere in the world. What would it be?
I tend to go for Billy Conley because I met him years ago and I haven't seen him for years, but he's such good company to be in. So, and I know he likes to travel, so do I. And I've seen him do those shows where he does it on his bike. So I think I'd probably like to do something like, I'll take him to Mexico, I think.
Brilliant. Brian Conley in Mexico, love it. I mean, Billy Conley, not Brian Conley. Brian Conley's here.
Yeah. No, I do get that all the time. That and everyone thinks I'm Bradley Walsh. Of course, the Americans will not know who he is. But I met Billy Conley. He is charming. And I didn't think he would know who I was. You know, this was a few years ago. And he said, Brian Conley. And I said, hello, Billy Conley. He said, you have a very nice singing voice. And I was like, oh, my God, Billy Conley. He knows who I am. So, yeah. And I do some routines in my act where we do, you know, I've had it a few times where we get confused. And, of course, I get very often introduced as Brian Conley. And, of course, it's not. It's just Conley, Conley. Yeah. But if I go in a shop, people will always spell it double N, double R. No, it's just Conley.
Brilliant. Well, Brian, two people, one place, who would it be for you?
Well, it would be Elvis. Because I loved Elvis Presley, and I think as a young man watching him in those Vegas sort of films, and that really did, bring an excitement to me that I think, I want to do this. I want to be on stage, you know, watching him, and he just looks so cool, he's so sexy, and I wouldn't want to go anywhere but my kitchen. And of course, another legend was Tommy Cooper. I love Tommy. It's just funny. Any man that can walk on stage, make everyone howl and laugh and not actually say anything. I would love to have a drink, a nice little drink with Tommy Cooper and Elvis Presley, and it would just be in my kitchen, and I'd have to get my video thing out. I'd have to do a selfie. Come on, get in, Elvis. You know, I'd have a selfie. But just to sort of talk to them, it would be, I think I'd be speechless. I don't think I could speak.
Yeah, I think
just to have them in the...
If I was supposed to have two people, I'd go for Tommy as well.
Yeah. Tommy Cooper.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You know, I in my old life, when I was, 21, 22, I was a musical director at a venue in Manchester called the Golden Garter. But if anyone was there, the Garter, I was there, and we had a lot of names coming through, and I played piano for Tommy Cooper as the house band. His opening song was Sheik of Arabine, Play It and Come On. I swear to you, every single night, pissing our sides laughing at everything. The only guy that got a standing ovation of the audience, pissing their sides laughing 2 minutes before he walked on stage, getting lost in the dressing room.
Yeah, that's right. I have to hijack this one as well. I'm hijacking a story, but one of the guys who's in the Pacaminos is good friends with Joe Jackson. They both come from the same town. You know, Joe's well known in America. So Joe was very young and he'd got a band, and so they were going to have to back Tommy at the local theatre. And the manager sent them what they'd have to play on a cassette, you know. And he said that they put the cassette in, it was so hissy, you could barely make out what they're supposed to play. So they kind of did the best they could. But then I don't think Tommy was very happy with it. So they said, Tommy wants to see you in his dressing room after the show. So they said he sat there with a big dressing gown on, with those big legs of his nose, enormous feet with a pair of slippers on. And he's taken his trousers off. So he's got his socks with the garters on. And as they walk in, he goes, let's be honest, lads, it wasn't very good, was it? Because they should have felt mortified, but they just could not stop laughing. And he was angry, you know, trying his best to be, but... Yeah,
so good.
I love that story of when he was at the Royal Command. He had two bits. He walked out of the Royal Command and he had his table with all his props, and he had a big sword, which he just put by the royal box. Just right at the beginning, he didn't even say it. He just put a big sword there. Then and every time he got a big laugh from this audience, he would walk over and just kneel down by the sword, and of course the Queen's in the royal box. And that. And then at the end of the show, they had the line-up where they all shake hands with the royals. And the Queen goes up to Tommy Cooper and he shakes hands. He goes, Your Majesty, do you like football? And she went, no, not really. He said, could I have your ticket for the FA Cup final? A legend. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. You know, everyone's in lockdown all around the world, all this stuff. One of the things many people are doing, going down that rabbit hole of YouTube and looking at videos. So I'm going to give you all a few things to do, all the viewers out there, over this weekend, as you're wondering, what can I watch? Go on YouTube. First of all, search Tommy Cooper, especially if you're over in the States. He's one of the funniest men. Search Brian Conley, especially the audience with which I love, and Paul Young, Radio Gaga, all of that. Go down those rabbit holes because you'll click and click and click, and before you know it, it'll be 10 hours later and you'll have a few bottles of wine. It's good stuff. Before we creep towards the end of this show, I do want to show you a couple of videos of these two amazing performers. First of all, one of the funniest things I've ever seen on TV was when on an audience with Brian Conley, when he decided to hit on a young blonde lady, Nell, in the audience. Check this out.
All right, Stevie. Right. Yeah. Two-faced git. Good turnout. No one from Big Brother. Well, it's a busy night for bar staff. Oh my God, it's Nell McAndrew. She wants me badly. Okay, now just relax. Walk over to her and show her your tongue. Okay, now stroke her hair. Now rub her breasts. No, that was a joke. I'm going to kiss her hand. Now, while her hand is shaking, shove it down your trousers. Now, you are not exactly pulling away here, are you? Go on, rub my body, baby. Go on, now make my nipples go. Oh, go on, love, go for it. Go on. Go on, go on. Go on, go on, it's after 9. Go on, have a rub, I don't care. No, not the bum, the front, go on. Go like that, or go like that. This is your man, you're up with one about a kiss? No, got it. Hey, and you didn't flinch. What's that all about? But this song I'm about to sing is dedicated to Anne-Marie because her birthday is the 14th of February and the new baby is due on the 14th of February. There we go for you. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with your heart. Your looks are laughable, quite unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Here's your figure listening Greek. Here's your mouth just a little weak when you open it to speak. Why you smiling now? Don't change your hair for me. Look at the cry. That isn't what you care for me. Stay, little Valentine. Stay, kind. Each day is Valentine's Day. Each day is Valentine's.
It's just hilarious, hilarious. You know, I call it going down this rabbit hole, Brian. As I was researching this show, I sat here with Anne, my wife, and we start watching that, and then we saw. I think it was a Royal Variety. I think you've done like 8 Royal Varieties or 9 Royal Varieties of them. It's amazing. But I don't think it was a Royal Variety, but it was you and Bradley Walsh at the place when you wrapped the tape around your face. Seriously, go down the YouTube hole and watch this stuff because you just go on and on and on. Brian, you're brilliant, hilarious.
Oh, bless you, mate.
Phenomenal.
Bless you, mate. I'm not quite in Paul's league, but I'm happy to take those compliments. Thank you.
It's brilliant stuff.
Long career, Brian. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, sorry, what did you say?
I said you've had a long career, Brian, and you should be proud of that. You've been in the business the same length of time as me, but you started at 12 and I was 20. I guess no, I started at 21, but I was a late starter, late bloomer.
Well, I think what we both have in common is we didn't have a plan B. This was it.
That's it. Yeah.
Brilliant career. And, there's loads of people watching, but for me, I've got a lot of family watching in the UK, and they've already made plans to go and watch Brian Conley live the next time we have the opportunity when we're back there. So that's definite. We could not leave the show. And I'll be coming back to say thank yous to everybody as we get, this is the finale of our season 1, but we couldn't leave the show without watching Paul Young in action on stage. Check this out.
Hey everybody, tears from your little sister, cry because she doesn't have a dress without a patch for the party to go. But she'll get by, cause she's living in love with the common people. Smart from the heart of a fan man. God's gonna buy you a drink to cling to. Mama's gonna like you just as much as she can. And she can. For I'm the type of boy who is always on the road. Wherever I lay, in your heart or even in your mind. Come back here and stay for good this time. Come back here and stay good this time.
How about that? Brilliant, eh? Still sounding fantastic, Paul. Yeah, brilliant, superb. But so, okay, so here's the deal, all my friends and family in the UK. Once this is over, we're coming back there. First of all, we're having meat pie, chips and gravy, and probably have a fish on the side. And then we'll go and watch Brian. And then the next night, we'll go out and watch Paul or Los Pacaminos. And we'll make sure we make that a week of it. Brilliant. It's been... what a tremendous show. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. We've had a crazy good season that came from nowhere. A month ago, Tad Talk didn't exist. And we've had Brian Conley, Paul Young, J.K. Simmons, Liberty DeVito. It's been an amazing season. Next season promises to be a belter as well. We're actually having a week off. There's no Tad Talk next week. We'll be rerunning some of our favorites. And then we start again a week on Monday with Ken Gavin, who is Princess Diana's official personal photographer. That's a one-on-one interview, and that's going to be a blast. Denny Lane's on the show next season and a bunch of other people. So don't forget to tune in for season 2. Brian and Paul, this has been great. I wish we could stay here for another hour.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So thanks for being on the show. To everyone else, stay safe, wash your hands, all that good stuff. Let's get out of this and see each other on the other side a bit stronger and a bit kinder. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.